Welcome to Valle Verde, or Green Valley, a digital horror series that dives deep into an unreleased PlayStation 1 game. Initially, it appears to be a typical third-person adventure game set on an island, complete with quests for the locals. However, as the game progresses, we uncover a multitude of hidden secrets that lead to a much darker plot. Green Valley was never officially released to the public, with only a fragment of its story coming to light. Today, we'll explore the two parts of the game that have been uploaded. Get ready, cause we're about to journey into the enigmatic world that is Green Valley. Before we dive into the video, there's a message waiting for us in the description. Material found in Parque Ecológico Municipal, La Plata, Buenos Aires. I've been reviewing the first 20 minutes of the footage almost frame by frame these last few months, to avoid the risk of uploading something potentially illegal. I've seen things appear and disappear in various parts of the video, and had to review the entire thing to make sure. As far as I know, everything is relatively normal, but I have to clarify. This video is not suitable for children, despite seeming so, because apparently this game is made for kids. In fact, I thought it was the first time I saw it, but there are things that don't add up. I will upload the rest once I properly review it. If by any chance you have some information about this game, or the tape itself, please write it down in the comments. At the end of this, they leave a link to a video explaining how they found this footage. It's a short video, and given that it's in Spanish, I've decided to summarize it. One day, while visiting a park in Argentina, Alluvium ventured into the woods and stumbled upon an area where the trees were dying. There, he found a small statue nearly tripping over it, alongside a red rope protruding from the ground. After returning a week later with a shovel, he unearthed a metal case containing a VHS tape. There were some issues with the upload, leaving parts of the video out, including an image of the statue, which is linked here in the description. Alluvium mentions, "I only took the tape because I was curious to know what was recorded on it. Initially, when watching it 2 years ago, it appeared to be a normal game. However, 2 years later, he decided to revisit it and noticed strange occurrences within the game. So, let's see what was on that tape." As the game loads, a note is left behind from its previous owner, revealing that the footage is part of an investigation into Green Valley, overseen by Robert Cedern and Pablo Gutierrez. The date on the recording is February 14th, 1997, and underneath it, the numbers 55, which may hint at the number of units produced, or the investigators involved. The player is presented with 4 dialect options, represented by flags of the UK, Italy, Germany, and Spain. Opting for Spain, we arrive at the game's title screen, offering menu options such as Settings, New Game, and Load Game, to which the player selects New Game. Right off the bat, we encounter something called the TH Brain device, which must remain connected while playing the game, and it's only once this external device is linked, it starts up. The player finds themselves on a type of blimp, where an inspector named Rodi approaches and asks them for their identification papers. With none in hand, he offers to create a provisional one, a requirement for entering Green Valley. When asked for a name, the player inputs test05 and proceeds to choose their gender and input their age and date of birth. With these options quickly being set as default, it's clear that the player is familiar with the game, likely due to their role in playtesting, explaining the rapid dialogue interactions and skipping the intro sequence before the main menu. Rodi then asks the player where they would like to land, offering various locations. Suddenly, a new point of interest appears: Debug Shima. Interestingly, it doesn't replace the previous options as the anchor icon remains visible. The player then selects Debug Shima. Upon landing, they encounter Bobson at the end of the dock, who requests their papers. It's worth noting that during this conversation, Bobson's name is displayed as Bobson, except for a single line of dialogue where it's shown as Rodi. It's hard for me to believe this was accidental. Could this be an older version of Rodi, given the striking similarities in appearance, such as the hat, red nose, and overgrown mustache? Now, this could be a mistake that I'm just overthinking, but they do look fairly similar. It's worth considering. After presenting Bobson with the provisional document, the player is tasked with delivering it to Foxo in the town hall, marking the start of their journey in Green Valley. As the player enters the town hall, a brief cutscene unfolds and they gain full control in a third-person perspective. In the top left corner, their in-game currency is displayed, and unfortunately, they're broke. They head directly to Foxo, a purple fox at the town center. During this conversation, we learn that Foxo has overseen the town hall for 2 decades. Presenting their documents, they receive an ID card, and Foxo mentions a leadership band connected to the Trees of Knowledge, though he provides no further details. With nowhere to stay, Foxo offers accommodations, mentioning that the previous owner mysteriously disappeared, which is definitely what someone new to the town would want to hear. Foxo then acts as a guide, showing Test 5 around town, setting the stage for a dark twist. The game starts to reveal its hidden depths as Foxo introduces us to Jan Sug, Kazuya, Oliver, Chloe, and Matthias. These characters seem far from normal. The shadows near Foxo belong to the in-game characters, but they are nowhere to be seen, except for Kazuya's feet and Matthias, who is stuck in a running loop. The flags beside them are all lowered to the ground except for the last one. Either Foxo doesn't know that the player can't see these character models, or he is hiding something from the player. What's most disturbing here is the use of real-life photographs in the game. While the other images are distorted, those used for Chloe and Matthias appear unaltered. Returning to the town center, the game begins to glitch. Foxo draws attention to a solid gold statue of himself and mentions an entity known as the Smiling One, who granted him absolute authority over the town. Yet again, he refuses to elaborate. Lastly, he mentioned the limited amenities in town, a museum owned by Ito, and a robotics building where Dr. Nutao tirelessly works with his boxer robot, Isaac. At the end of the tour, Foxo generously gives the player 100 coins, while telling him to remember this for the next election. Now armed with an ID card, a place to stay, a tour of the town, and some gold, Test 5 seems well equipped to begin their journey. Or so we thought. It's apparent things aren't quite going according to the game's design. Debug Shima's sudden appearance was odd, and there are things that just don't make sense. Like, what happened to the children, and why did Foxo give the player money just to steal it back? Notably, a cogwheel occasionally appears when Foxo speaks or performs actions, along with the color of the chat box changing from blue to red. This happens 3 times during this conversation, suggesting that it shows up when Foxo acts independently or when he instructs the player to do something beyond the game's programming. With that, we have reached a shift in the footage. Instead of following a single in-game recording, the investigator has compiled gameplay snippets revealing an array of anomalies. These anomalies, while seeming insignificant on their own, gradually begin to piece together the secrets of Green Valley. It all begins with the first recorded anomaly on February 14th, 1997 at 8:01 AM, titled Anomaly TX16, Spontaneous Level Generation. After leaving the town hall, Test 5 finds themselves walking down a bizarre trail. We hear a bell and the audio takes on a peculiar sound akin to liquid being poured. Consulting the map, they discover that their current location has vanished into uncertainty. The map reveals a paved path leading to a cross, possibly a church. Puzzled by the sight, they retrace their steps back to town, then back down the same trail, confirming what they were witnessing is indeed real. The only noticeable change is in the audio, which now resembles something being torn apart. As they press on, the worlds of reality and imagination seem to collide, now on a road lined with statues resembling the main character model, with singular eyes. Continuing along the same path, they encounter a section cluttered with artworks and gold coins obstructing their way. They pick up the pile and toss it aside. A translation in the inventory description reveals that the coins belong to the mayor, most likely earned by stealing from the player. But what lies ahead is even more obscure. Initially, this section appears vacant, but they soon discover traces of blood, and as they look up, they are met with bloody faces emerging from the ground. Quickly, they navigate this nightmare. As they make their way out, we observe a floating hand clutching what appears to be scissors right behind them. Moving forward, Test 5 encounters a section containing speakers and vinyl players emitting distorted music.
Que te has querido, que dormís pa' que yo cinche, anda a buscar otro lince si tenés sueño pesado.
Having survived the previous section, this one doesn't seem too bad, so they decide to move forward. For a single frame, this creature appears in close proximity to the player. It's something that can easily be missed, which is why its presence is strange for a game. As for its appearance, it seems to have no arms and has a large smile. Could this be the smiling one Foxhole was talking about? It's safe to assume it is for now. Afterwards, they stumble across shadowy figures with single red eyes that loom ominously, the complete opposite as the previous part of the trail. When they attempt to make contact, the figures avert their gaze. Meanwhile, the background audio features a direct quote from J. Robert Oppenheimer, speaking on his reaction to creating the atomic bomb.
He knew the world would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
Progressing along the path, they find the floor drenched in blood, with corrupt statues of angels fixated on mirrors. Then, for a brief moment, everything is calm. Angels encircle the path, leading to a colossal gate. The player walks through the open gates. On the other side lies the cross and the brick road as shown on the map. But what was all that we just witnessed? This clip transports us to a diner in town, introducing us to Rosa, Teresa, and Jacinta. Test 5 is given a quest to deliver food to Bobson for 10 coins. However, before fulfilling this task, they enter the room where they encounter Matias, who is found near the back calling for help. This encounter deepens the enigma of Green Valley. It becomes clear that Matias is trapped within the game, which explains his previous glitching behavior. He recognizes the player as an agent and urgently inquires about Chloe, the girl from France. When asked if Matias can see them and the text bar, he responds, "Yes, I can't move." The player proceeds with questions. Do you see someone else? And do you know where the others are? Matias appears frightened and repeatedly asks for his mother. He also requests to speak with Mr. Kunimochi. When information that Mr. Kunimochi no longer works for the agents, Matias pleads, "I don't want to play anymore. Please, get me out." And just after saying this, the game freezes.
Lovely lady dressed in blue, teach me how to pray. God was just your little boy. Tell me what to say. Did you lift him up sometimes, gently on your knee? Did you sing to him the way mother does to me? Did you ever try telling him stories of the world? And oh, did he cry? Do you think he cares if I tell him things? Just little things that happen? And do angels' wings make a noise? Can he hear me if I speak low? Does he understand me now? Tell me, for you know. Lovely lady dressed in blue, teach me how to pray. God was just your little boy, and you know the way.
After 2 days, Test 5 visits a church where the pastor recites a poem by Mary Dixon Thayer. The poem reflects Pedro's desire to learn how to pray from the Virgin Mary, emphasizing her connection to God as the mother of Jesus. After this, the player walks across the church to speak with Pedro, and he leaves them with a cryptic statement.
May the blessing of Almighty God, Father, Son, and Holy
I shouldn't have taught my watch the secrets of Joseph of Cupertino. Now time flies. A man who, despite a neglected childhood, gained the extraordinary ability to levitate and commune with God during these moments of transcendence. In some way, Pedro draws a connection between this event and the concept of time. Test 5 returns to Debug Shima, where they meet Foxo near the golden statue. An intriguing observation occurs during this encounter as the player accesses the TH-Brain debug menu. Using the aerial cam, they frame the statue without their character directly looking at it. In that moment, where no one is making direct contact with it, the statue moves. It stands like an actual fox on 4 legs, but immediately turns to its 2-legged stance once Foxo turns to look at it. This observation suggests that even Foxo may not fully comprehend the secrets of Green Valley, adding another layer of mystery. On the following day, the footage transitions to a minigame where the player is tasked with delivering packets. They are presented with the choice of free play, time trial, and competition. Additionally, we are introduced to Kato, the blue dude with the cool plane in the beginning of the game. Initially, nothing appears out of the ordinary. I assume that the statue was deliberately placed in the game. However, given the absence of any other elements, I believe this is the anomaly. The statue stands tall, resembling the Statue of Liberty, but with the green hue. On it is the shadow of a cross and holding an object in one of its hands. As strange as the previous anomalies are, I believe this one holds the most significance. While navigating Debug Shima, the player observes Ito, Foxo, and Dr. Nutao, who never leaves his lab, walking between two buildings. Test 5 follows them into a place marked by 4 pillars, a tree, possibly the ones Foxo was referring to before, and a triangular passage with 3 French words, meaning equality, fraternity, and freedom, a famous slogan born during the French Revolution. This passage ultimately leads them to an abyss. Everything is dark and there's limited visibility. Moving forward, they reach a glowing lamp on the floor surrounded by a pack of wolves. Although it doesn't appear that anything is alive here, everything seems still. Upon making contact with it, they are attacked by a shadowy figure, and they receive a message demanding that they turn on the console on March 22nd, 1997. There is something that doesn't sit right with me here, and it's the fact that the game is made for the PlayStation 1. At the time, games could not connect to the internet, so how could it possibly know what date of the year it is? While walking down a brick road, a bush suddenly spawns in, blocking the path. A cogwheel appears, and we observe a conversation Test 5 is having with themselves. "Aren't you hungry? Look to your left." The player approaches a tree where they find a selection of fruits hidden underneath its shadow. And I believe we all know where this is going. Skeptical at first, they decide to eat some, setting off a chain of unsettling events. Suddenly, the accuser berates them with statements. "What have you done? Why are you just standing there? Take as many fruit as you can. Soon after, we receive a close-up image that appears to be the smiling one from earlier. The player is then teleported to the gate, but this time it's closed. Above them looms a seraphim. Test 5 decides to walk past it, resulting in their death. They respawn in what I assume to be hell, with a significant negative coin balance. Straight ahead, they find a statue resembling the one in the center of Debug Shima. Here, they encounter Ito, who does not seem to be in the best of shape. He talks about his museum and mentions that the smiling one has asked him to collect 10 faces for a carnival. Test 5 agrees to help, receiving a message about auto-generated tasks potentially causing problems. Warning, the auto-generated task can present problems and destabilize the system. If you have problems completing an auto-generated task, reboot the system and destabilize it through the TH Brain menu. This might be referring to the dialogue that appears whenever the cogwheel is on screen. Something I find unsettling is that Ito initially speaks about his library as if we're in it, but the area appears completely destroyed. It's as if they're still playing the game, but from the underworld. In addition, Ito is now the second person to mention the smiling one, along with Boxo. As they continue, they come across a house with an Argentina flag, likely Matias's home from earlier. Outside, Isaac is hiding behind a tree. He appears terrified. Inside, the player discovers a sketchbook filled with numerous illustrations dating from November 23rd, 1996 to December 12th of the same year. After examining the illustrations, they enter a bedroom, likely belonging to Matias, and inquire about the religious imagery on the walls. As they examine the last painting, they receive a gift, marking the end of part 1. Part 1 of Green Valley's investigation reveals that the player of the game is not merely conducting routine playtesting. Instead, there seems to be a deeper and more mysterious purpose behind the investigation. While the true story's intended outcome remains unknown, it's clear that the recorded anomalies are far from random. Two major themes emerge throughout the gameplay. The first is Christianity, evident in various references and imagery. The second theme, less obvious but pervasive, pertains to Freemasonry. Freemasonry is often perceived as a secret society, though it essentially functions as an exclusive fraternity. Its members believe in a supreme being, but it's not a religion. Numerous clues point towards this theme, particularly related to the Purple Fox character. The all-seeing eye. A symbol signifying that God is always watching. It appears twice during the first anomaly while walking down the trail. The square and compass. The square signifies honesty and fairness in one's actions. It's the same square where townspeople walk off, and the gate that transports the player to the Shadow Plains. The acacia tree. a symbol used by Masons resembling immortal souls, possibly connected to the tree behind the passage. Attire. Masons commonly wear suits that vary based on their rank. Foxhole's badge may hint at his position in the rank-based system. Badges. All three characters who left the town during the 5th anomaly had badges on their left arms, suggesting a rank system similar to Masonic lodges. Foxhole's election. Foxhole persistently brings up the idea of voting for him in the next election, which could be tied to his mayoral candidacy, but it's never directly stated. Anchor symbolism. The anchor is one of the Masonic symbols, and it's seen as a destination in the beginning of the game. If these associations hold true, the Smiling One is likely viewed as the Masonic group's supreme being. After all, Foxhole claims that this entity gave him authority over the town. Despite these insights, many questions remain unanswered, leaving room for further exploration in Part 2. Part 1 concludes with the player receiving the key item Divine Mercy. In Part 2, we find ourselves back in Debug Shima. The player opens their inventory to examine the item, but they discover that it lacks any description. Additionally, 2 other items are in the inventory, an umbrella and a gift from Lydia. It's evident that the player has advanced in the story prior to the recording. Fast forward to February 24th, 1997. Test 5 returns to the Seraphim and presents it with the Divine Mercy. The Seraphim disappears, leaving behind a small golden entrance. However, the entrance is too small for the character model. And we advance to our first anomaly of Part 2. The player returns to the previously discovered secret passage between 2 buildings and encounters giant statues moving on the floor like chess pieces. Interestingly enough, these statues depict animals dressed in suits. Once again, they walk through the triangular passage, but this time they have a map with information on 5 zones: Alpha, Charlie, Oscar, Kilo, and Juliet. Using the aerial view, they notice strange creatures flying around, but when they utilize the dev tool, a crucial discovery is made. Towards the bottom of the text box, there's a few numbers initially seeming meaningless. However, its significance becomes evident when reading the text P5 idle. P5 likely indicates that they are player 5, and idle suggests that the character is in an idle state, while the percentage displayed could potentially represent the game's completion. This finding raises the possibility of 4 other players involved in the game. It might explain Matias' statement in part 1 and why the player left 5 out of 5 in the message before the gameplay. Continuing their exploration, the player selects a golden statue buried in the ground, and crystal bugs appear to be feeding off of it. While still in aerial cam, the same shadowy figure attacks the player, resulting in another enigmatic death screen displaying the previous message. The recording shifts to the player inside an art gallery, engaged in a conversation with Posafa. He directs their attention to a painting on the wall titled La Fille de la Lumière Rose and reveals details about the artist, but what shows up on our end is 2 lines of code. Upon approaching the painting, the player asks if they can examine it before making the purchase of 30 coins. Posafa grants them permission, and we observe the following. The text delves into themes of betrayal, consequences, and judgment. It suggests that the zones could potentially represent a realm for the damned souls. Once again, we find the player standing before the Golden Gate. However, this time, they have a trick up their sleeve. They access the TH Brain debug menu, adjust the character size, and proceed through the gate. Interestingly, Pedro deviates from addressing the player as Test 5 and instead calls him Pablo. If you recall the note from the beginning of the video, it reveals that Pablo L. Gutierrez, along with Robert Cedern, supervised the investigation of Green Valley. This implies that Pablo is the individual playing the game, and for some unknown reason, Pedro, an in-game character, is aware of his true identity. The name of the voice that speaks is Latin and translates to "this is true." For whatever reason, this section of the video was either corrupted or left out on purpose. It jumps to them now being outside. the player receives 2 compasses, one of which they are tasked to deliver to Matias. Pedro claims that it's urgent. Without delay, Test 5 returns to the diner, the last known location of Matias, gives him the compass, and he vanishes. Using the TH-Brain debug menu once again, Test 5 selects the location tab, revealing an ever-shifting array of cryptic codes. However, hovering this tab sends them back to the previous one. After noticing this, they quickly hover over it and select it before being forced back. Once they do so, they find themselves in a surreal, dimly lit space adorned with floating cubes, each etched with a repeated symbol. It's the very same symbol associated with the TH-Brain device. As they traverse the environment, a sudden burst of light demands their attention. Meanwhile, the user interface exhibits erratic behavior. The floating head in the space is named Not, and Pablo initiates the conversation by pulling up the text bar and typing /info. Once done, a conversation unfolds that reveals essential insights related to Green Valley. The dialogue commences with basic greetings. Hello. Who are you? Not's initial reply indicates a lack of understanding, as he requests communication in Spanish. Hola, mi nombre es Pablo. Pablo proceeds to pose a series of questions, inquiring about the significance of Matias and the Smiling One. Not's responses leave Pablo puzzled, as Not consistently repeats his name, with a hint of irritation the second time around. It's unclear whether Not is evading these questions, or if certain topics are being filtered out from the conversation. Nevertheless, we discover that Not possesses a vast library of historical knowledge, and is familiar with the agents. He mentions the existence of multiple agents who speak different languages, and reveals that he used to speak these languages as well. However, he was compelled to part with those modules due to the unbearing screams and pleas for help. Now those languages are just noise to him. Not has gone into hiding north of Forest Town. Pablo proceeds to then ask, "Why are you hiding?"
Quiero estar solo.
Pablo visits Berenjeno, the guardian of Green Valley's vast archive, which contains a total of 8,353 records. These records are categorized in 4 main types: books, movies, audios, and games. The majority of these archives is located in Debug Shima, the center hub of Green Valley. The second largest collection belongs to Seatown's local library, though it pales in comparison to Debug Shima. This collection is associated with Lydia and has been maintained since February 9, 1997. Pablo's prior visit to Seatown might explain the gifts from Lydia in his inventory at the start of part 2. The third largest library is situated in Forest Town, located south of Not's secretive hideaway. Upon request, Pablo gains access to the library's unique menu, which provides him access to an assortment of media. Notably, the game's catalog features an intriguing list of titles, some of which are associated with characters in Green Valley: Foxo, Oliver, Kazuya, Matias, Chloe, and one game with no one. We know Pablo has found an Angel Quest model in the Alpha Zone, but if it was from a different game, how did it end up there? Pablo scrolls through the list and stumbles upon a game titled Tharsis: The Legend Demo. This game is set in the universe of Green Valley and published by Capcom in 1997. Players have the option to choose between 2 characters, Virgil, and Eva. Pablo selects Eva, and the game begins.
What
私たちは10分前に侵入を受けました。振動センサーによると、施設の南に衝撃が検出されました。
これは何かの情報がありますか？
何もありません。何であれ、それは自分の足跡を非常にうまく隠す方法を知っています。施設内のカメラは外部ダクトを通って入る前にそれをキャプチャする。
ダクトですか？
すべての兆候からそれは保管エリアに向かっていると示唆されています。私たちはそこに駐屯部隊を派遣し、彼らは指示を受ける準備をしているはずです。
彼らに連絡してください。バージル、こちらコントロールです。地下ではどうなっているのですか？
エレベーターとトンネル通路を封鎖しています。現在のターゲットの位置は何ですか？
あなたの位置に近づいています。まだ時間があります。
エレベーターとハッチは封鎖されています。私たちは位置を取る準備ができています。
15秒です。
注目してで接触します。10、9、8、7、6、5。それは何ですか？バージル、レシーブバージル。どこに行くのか聞いてもいいですか？
明らかでしょう。彼らは下で援助が必要です。
私はあなたをコントロールルームに必要としています。外は安全ではありません。
心配しないで、すぐ戻ります。
あの女が俺を殺すんだ。引き続きコンタクトを試してくれ。
The narrative unfolds as Virgil's squadron faces a formidable force, resulting in catastrophic consequences. Eva decides to take matters into her own hands and leaves the room. However, an unexpected message disrupts the gameplay. It warns the player of a TH brain device connectivity problem and advises against turning off the system. Shortly after, the message disappears and the game's environment undergoes a profound transformation. A TH Brain logo appears on every object, indicating an intrusion into the game. Eva's game has been brought into the zones, and she is alone. As Pablo continues to investigate, they find two dead characters that appear to be from Green Valley. She finds a large statue and tries to get a better look around, but something spots her. Quickly, a powerful being made of gold appears and spawns in crystal bugs from before. Pablo receives a quick action to move the joystick, but fails. Eva is ultimately consumed and the session becomes corrupted. Pablo revisits Matias's home, this time from the game's overworld. As he flips through his sketchbooks once more, an eerie event unfolds. The music abruptly stops, and a new sketch from March 13th, 1997 emerges titled, "The Explosion Sun is Coming."
Obsessions can be rather chaotic, don't you think?
The subject of tonight's telecast is the chaos of men and the chaos of God. Now, we will find that sacred scripture has a plethora of examples of both cases. If we take, for example, the days of Noah, in which the wickedness of man was great on the earth, we can see this relationship of chaos very clearly. Whenever the chaos of man rises, the chaos of God intervenes.
While Pablo is still absorbing the significance of this sketch, the television in the room flickers on, displaying a video titled, "Life is Worth Living the Chaos," attributed to Pedro, dated June 7th, 1996. It's a recording of Fulton J. Shen, an American bishop of the Catholic Church. And to add to the obscurity, the logo on the bottom right is the same as one of the ones for the creators of Green Valley. Throughout the recording, there are 3 interferences. The first is a close-up of a drawing from Matias, revealing writing that roughly translates to, "The son of explosions arrives. Between the wars, men will go crazy. Chaos will be to cancel the chaos of men. Chaos of God against chaos of man." The second interference showcases a photo of Franklin D. Roosevelt taken during his induction into the Albany Lodge in February 28, 1929, connecting the game's narrative to real-world historical figures and events. The final pair of photos in the video features 3 unidentified individuals and Annibale Bugnini, the Secretary of Commission that played a pivotal role in the update of the Roman Rite. This addition adds yet another layer of complexity to the unfolding story. Overall, the video conveys a profound message. The chaos of mankind pales in comparison to the chaos of God, a theme that resonates throughout the game and its anomalies.
Nor the birth of organized terrorism, nor the destruction of secular monuments, not even the new plague or the explosions of disintegration, but the inevitable reaction of divine justice, the chaos of God.
Green Valley is a digital horror series with a storyline that is very complex due to the number of moving pieces. The series kicks off with the discovery of a mysterious VHS tape containing footage from Green Valley by Alluvium. Although their role in the narrative is minor, their act of uploading the footage sets the story in motion. Pablo L. Gutierrez, a supervisor involved in the investigation, emerges as a central character who becomes deeply intertwined in the unfolding events. It is revealed that Pablo is not just overseeing the investigation, but he is also the player experiencing everything firsthand. This revelation adds a new layer of intrigue to the story, shedding light on the blurred lines between the in-game world and reality. It's apparent that his role in all of this is much more significant than we know. As I've mentioned prior, elements of Christianity and Freemasonry continue to play a role in the story, but I want to highlight two key moments in part 2, the first being the introduction of Not. Like Matthias, Not is familiar with the agents, but unlike Matthias, he seems to be the only one Pablo has met that truly knows the secrets of this place. Unfortunately, Not has been mentally destroyed by everything, so he has disconnected himself with parts of the game and wants to be left alone. Not's desire for isolation underscores the profound impact of the game's hidden horrors on those who delve too deep. The second is the zone's consumption of Theris the Legend demo. Here, we learn that a golden entity is responsible for summoning crystal bugs that eat away at anything, leaving behind nothing but a dark statue. This explains why the zones look the way they do. For whatever reason, Ava's game was brought into the zones and consumed. We know that Tharsis the Legend is not the first and certainly won't be the last. The zones are slowly eaten away at Green Valley. The Green Valley series is still being released, which is why there are still so many things left up in the air. Nevertheless, if the series has piqued your interest, go show them your support. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, I recommend subscribing to the channel. Would love to have you here, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.